Man, I have seen some shit. Brother, I ain't never seen no shit like this. Word.
Welcome to another episode of Kill James Bond. I am Alex Caldwell-Kelly. I'm joined, as always, by my friends Abigail Thorne and Devon.
Hello.
How you doing?
We're all back, all three of us, finally.
That's right.
It's us again.
That's right. the fallow years of doing it with only sort of like two of the triad have ended. But first up, we got to do a statement which I'm going to deliver entirely off the cuff, which is always a good sign. That's how you want to do your big statements.
Things
right?
are happening in the world at the moment. The world of
most notably,
cinema.
yeah, the world of cinema, located, as we know, in Hollywood, California. Now, in Hollywood, California, the movies that we know and love are made by people. They're made by labor. It's a commodity. It involves labor. And the labor that makes those movies, in this case, the writers and the actors, are currently on strike against the AMPTP, the like conglomeration of Hollywood studios and movie producers.
Mm-hmm.
And under that strike, anything made under those rules, under those contracts which they're striking against, which is basically any Hollywood movie since about 1930, that is like struck work. You can't do anything with it if you are a member of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, if you're a member of the Writers Guild of America, or if you want to be in future.
Yes, you can't promote it. And also this applies to anybody who might want to become a member in future, which, listeners, includes your humble servant, Abby Thorne.
That's right. So obviously, upon figuring this out several months late, what we did was we sought some guidance from SAG-AFTRA and from Equity, which is the union that Abby's in, which is not on strike because it's illegal for them to be,
Yes.
Without doing a strike ballot. And the conclusion we got is essentially, we're fine, but we don't feel great about covering stuff that no other podcast could be doing. Because, you know, we're not Americans, you know, we're also not promoting stuff.
So
maintain
our
that
podcast comes under film criticism, which is exempt.
Yeah.
Something that will become very apparent during the course of this episode in particular is that we aren't promoting these movies.
No. I will say this to you now.
About saying if a movie is bad.
Do
not go and watch Rambo off of this. But so I think mostly where we come down on it is it doesn't feel good to be doing Hollywood movies, and we want to do some sort of like measure of solidarity with the people who make the movies, which are, you know, that we talk about. So what we're doing, the plan, tentatively as it is, subject to any further guidance coming out, is we're going to finish up Rambo, the franchise. We're going to do a couple more bonus episodes, and then we're going to pivot. We're going to pivot into the season of solidarity. And until the strike is over, until further notice, we're going to try and do as many non-Hollywood, which is at least non-US made movies as we can.
That's right. Talking foreign
we're gonna be
film,
doing British
independence, British films, things like this.
New Zealand
Regret to
films, I've got a
announce-
few up my sleeve. We can go partially, though not entirely, Japanese.
Long-time listeners will note all of the movies that I tend to like. They're all fine. I can bring the fucking Hong Kong kung fu shit.
Oh,
no
yeah.
worries.
Yeah.
We're all playing to our strengths in different ways. You can bring the Hong Kong kung fu shit. Abby can make us all watch anime, and I can do the introductory studies in French film course that I've always wanted to teach.
Dev could also make us watch anime.
So this is our big solidarity gesture that is honestly not that difficult for us. We're going to be doing that going forward. We're going to like try our best. It's quite difficult to work out what is and isn't struck work, which is why every podcast that like actually has to observe this, like, but you know, really has to, is struggling. We're in the fortunate position of just doing it because we feel like it. And so we're going to do that. And then we're also going to look at like some ways of materially supporting the strike. We're going to try and put some like links in the description that you can donate to strike funds. And yeah, we're going to look into what we can do on our end. But in the meantime, it is like a crucial moment in the business of making films. And if you want making films to continue to be a viable endeavor, then, you know, these are the people who are doing it and they need your support.
Yes.
And
And listeners, if our relationship, listener, our parasocial relationship means anything to you, then please do support the strikes, because as somebody who is just starting out making movies and who is just starting to get to a place where it looks like that might actually be a cool thing that I could do in my career, it would really be nice if the industry did not entirely burn to the fucking ground because
if you weren't
it's too
replaced
driven
by an AI.
profits. Yeah, I would really like to not be replaced by an AI. I just started this career. I'm just starting to get roles that are actually cool. So if you would like to see me in more things, please do support this, because it is an existential fight for the future of the entire industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree.
All right, I think that's the statement. That's the statement. So now, with that in mind, we can talk about a movie
Having gone from something quite intellectual and moral and high-minded, now let's take a look at Rambo 4.
Fuck me to pieces, Rambo.
Rambo 4,
Yeah.
the quest for Rambo, the Rambo universe.
Yeah, Rambo 4, the Rambo that's just called Rambo. Rambo
First
Fourth Blood.
Part 4.
Rambo Fourth Blood, which begins with the movie sort of like grabbing you by the lapels and going, listen up, you stupid bastard. Here is what and where Burma is. And we're going to be quite selective about what we tell you. If you're not familiar, Burma is a country. Reading from the Wikipedia page here, Burma is a country in Southeast Asia. It has a horrific military dictatorship. And we start with some like legitimate like shock movies, some like snuff films.
Yeah, so it opens with like real footage of war in Burma, which is like genuinely horrific. I did not need to see that and was quite disturbed by it. You can, in certain movies, use real footage of historical like crimes, like Judgment at Nuremberg very famously used real footage, and it is absolutely harrowing, but it is used to good effect, and it is like cushioned by the film. This, like, cannot stress enough, the opening shot of this film is like real human beings being killed and mutilated, and it's like,
And you know that the payoff for this is going to be a Rambo movie. It's going to be handled with the tact and sensitivity that we've come to expect.
Long-time listeners will know that I love to analyze a movie as if it was trying to say something, even when it patently wasn't. So, like, movies that we've talked about in the past that have absolutely nothing to say, I like to analyze them like they're trying to really put forward something. This movie is genuinely trying to put forward something, and it fucking sucks at every turn. First and foremost, this doesn't work. Putting like real war footage, real war photographs in front of people doesn't ever work. It never has. It didn't work in Vietnam for a number of reasons. There's a John Berger essay about this. It's like people thought that the photographs of Vietnam War didn't really work to galvanize the public for a number of reasons. One is they thought people got inured to it, and the other one is that people thought, these guys are very far away, they're not the same as me, it's fine. Neither of these are true. The thing that Berger puts forward is that for a second you are caught up by the photograph and you go, oh my god, that's awful. And then you spend the entire rest of the time thinking about your own situation in relation to this. You start thinking about, oh, I must be such an awful person, but I'm not thinking about this all the time. You flagellate, and then eventually you just stop because it sucks to do that. That's why this doesn't work.
And it's not productive, it's not meaningful, it's not linked to anything.
Trying to explain Vietnam War photography to an American audience. Imagine John Berger.
Really good. Really solid. All right.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
We're back, baby.
Okay. So we get some footage of legit war crimes, real war crimes committed
full human
by
corpses
by the Burmese military, the Tatmadaw, and a news anchor reading over it says the Karen people, so they mispronounce, they say that the Karen people, comprised mostly of poor Christian farmers, have been singled out for extermination. Now this is immediately, this is the movie setting its stall out, and it's wrong in several crucial details. This is going to become very important. First of all, and take this apart, the Karen are poor Christian farmers. They're not all Christian, right? That's a big split in like Karen sort of like resistance to like Burmese war crimes and the Burmese military dictatorship is some of them are Christian, some of them are Buddhist, some of them are animist. The idea that this is specifically an oppressed group of Christians, right? When on the numbers it's only like 30%, this is a real sort of like, this is a standard for the US evangelical right. In the same way that the Afghans used to be. If we're familiar with a group called the Free Burma Rangers, there's this insane former American Special Forces officer, a bit like Rambo, called Dave Eubank, who does, by all accounts, pretty good like humanitarian work with Karen people and other people who are like being genocided and being ethnic cleansed by the Burmese military, but explicitly on an evangelical basis, and on the basis that, like, you know, God has sent me here in order to make you Christians and in order to like help you to resist tyranny, right? That's the framework that this movie is taking. Is these are people who are oppressed by virtue of being Christians. They are all Christians, and that's why they're being oppressed. And I was struck reading about this.
What is the reason for the actual violence?
I was struck by
gasoline prices, actually, but like there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah. No, I was struck by this. I read one thing in a history of Burma that says there are, you know, about 100 different ethnic minority groups in Burma, and the Burmese military has attempted to ethnically cleanse all of them. This most notably recently includes the Rohingya, who are Muslims and, you know, therefore not in this movie, right? We exhausted our sympathy on Muslims with Rambo 3, but also like a whole bunch of different people who live in what is like now constituted as Burma. And part of the reason why this is the case is like the long legacy of British colonialism, Burma never really having had a successful democratic government because of, like, you know, assassinations upon assassinations and recriminations. But yeah, it's not really. I haven't had this explained to me as like a religious conflict in any meaningful way. It's an ethnic conflict. It's a national conflict, and I've sort of like heard the Karen sort of like attempt to resist the Burmese government described like by analogy as being like the Kurds. Right. It's not a particularly like religiously inflected fight. It is, however, as the movie correctly says, one of the longest running civil wars, because it's been going since 1948 and sort of like, and then some, depending on how you count. So yes, that's the sort of like, that's the serious background to all of this, and I'm sure I'm butchering some of this, but this is my sort of like best recollection, right?
It's better than the movie Rambo 4 does.
Yeah, unfortunately, speaking of butchering, we then cut from the real violence to some gratuitous fictional violence. So an army truck pulls over and a bunch of prisoners are unloaded, and they are forced to run across a minefield, but the guy throws the mines?
It's a rice paddy, and he chucks the mines in. Well, it's not I mean, facially, it's a rice paddy, and he chucks the mines in so they can't see where they are and makes them run through it. But this is violence for the sake of violence for the cinema. I don't like it at all.
The practical effects are very gruesome. I mean, you know, people get blown up by, just get turned into red chunks, basically.
Oh yeah.
It's very confected. Not to do this like cinema sins ding about war crimes, but that's not how landmines work, and that's not why they're like bad. It's like, for the most part, it's people who don't know that there are, or who like are aware that there are landmines in an area, but like they have to live or work there anyway. Like Rambo
the point
3
of it is mostly psychological.
Closer to, you know.
But we do meet our villain for the film, a man who I don't think is named, but I referred to him in my notes as Captain Sunglasses. He's the leader of these Burmese soldiers who
he's the bad guy of the movie.
He's always wearing sunglasses, that's how you know who he is. And he looks on at this very coldly. He's running the show, but he's not really bothered by it.
He's named in the credits as Major Tint, but it never comes up and it's never on dialogue. No. So Sunglasses Man it is.
And then we cut very matter-of-factly, with no sort of build-up or anything, which I thought was an interesting choice. We just cut to our boy, Rambo. And it's been... Oh God, how long has it been? It's been, what, 20 years? Since
2008 to 1988, yeah.
He's stayed in Thailand.
He's still in Thailand. He's using his powers for good.
Yeah.
Older, obviously.
Every third person in Thailand is still a Buddhist monk.
That's correct, yes.
Which I appreciate. That's how you know you're in Thailand. it's like Rambo lives in rural Ireland. Every third motherfucker is wearing a cassock. It's
yeah. He's so fucking big. He's so fucking big. And they're filming him like he's a normal guy. Like he's just going about activities and they're filming it. And it's inherently comical because he is colossal. And he's in a country where the average height is about a foot shorter than over here. So like even for here, he's colossal, but he's walking around in Thailand. The man is a titan. It's crazy.
He looks like a stone talus. It's incredible. Yeah.
There's an accidental, perfect, like top secret style visual joke, which is when someone comes looking for Rambo, inevitably, a guy points him out, which is...
and it cuts across and he's half the frame.
How did you miss this man? Yeah.
Rambo, he's packed in the stick fighting that he used to do.
Yeah.
And instead, what he does now is he catches snakes for a snake fighting show.
Sure, man.
The snakes that he's capturing are for a show in which a man just like bothers cobras.
Yeah.
He just kind of gets into a ring with cobras.
Don't say that you wouldn't watch Cobra Botherer.
It just irritates the cobras.
Yeah, I've got like rings.
I've
got like ringside seats for Cobra Annoyer.
Yeah.
I've seen the house, baby.
The boss of the show is just like, Rambo, I need more cobras. You gotta get me more cobras. Like, cobras to table 5. And Rambo's like, fuck off. Like,
they're like ordering specific snakes off Rambo.
He's like Amazon for snakes.
Well, the Amazon for snakes is indeed the Amazon.
He's the fucking
crazy.
Amazon, yeah.
I should also say, Rambo is... Well, Sylvester Stallone is slurring quite badly. All of his lines in all of this. And so, he would just go, snakes. And sort of
Rambo syndrome is in advanced stages at this point. He's got nothing left.
Yeah, he's got tertiary Rambosis.
But the boss is like, Rambo, I need 2 cobras, 3 ball pythons, a corn snake, and a side of fries, and then a tiramisu. And then Rambo's like, fuck off. I don't want to. I'm on a break or whatever.
Like, I'm done.
And then white people arrive.
Yes, someone comes in and asks. It's not clear what he asks because it's in the background. You stick with Rambo and like these guys come in the background and ask after him. And it's like, hey man, have you seen the biggest fucking guy on earth? Is he around here? I'm like, yeah, that's him. Like, all right, beautiful.
You see this Goron looking motherfucker?
Yeah. See, the thing is, if you're asking after Rambo, you have such an easy fucking job. Because you walk into Thailand, you're like, have you seen Rambo? And they're like, yes,
holding up
100%.
a glossy of
He's
a
down the
shirtless
road.
man. Yeah.
So
this guy,
these people are soy, right? There is a soy guy called Michael Burnett, played by Paul Schultz. And he's like, I'm a pussy. Please take me and my friends over the border into Burma, like on your river boat that you use for snake catching. And Rambo's just like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, he says we're missionaries. We are bringing them medical supplies and prayer books.
We don't have weapons.
No. And Rambo's like...
Which is a problem because the Tamador have a fucking load of weapons.
Yeah, you should should have this, yeah. And Rambo's like, no, fuck off. You can't change anything. What, you think you're going to, like, pray the situation better in Burma? And then the guy's like, oh, come on, don't you want to help the world? And Rambo's just like, fuck the world.
Nah.
He goes, no, I'm refusing the call.
However, he does... However, the soy guy does have a woman with him.
A woman?
And she is like... Karen people, what about Karen people, huh? And just comes at him after thank you. I worked really hard on that one. If anyone tells me it's racially offensive, I'm gonna like walk into the sea. She comes back to his fucking hut after dark and she's like, but Rambo, all lives matter. This is very close to what he actually says. By the way, she's genuinely like, you gotta change the world.
She's cinema wet in this scene, whereas he's fully wet. So he's absolutely soaked to pieces, whereas her clothes are soaked and her face is completely dry.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't trust you because you're fucking cinema wet. If you were a real G, you'd be soaked like me.
That's true. And she's trying to like impose on him in a sort of like earnestly feminine way. But the problem here is that Rambo hasn't loved a woman since his Vietnamese girlfriend, and he gave her necklace away to a kid who grew up to do 9/11 or kill Nate or whatever. Like,
we don't support that the kid killed Nate.
No.
It's really unfortunate for us.
I should have said trying to kill Nate. Nate has not been killed.
It took him out. It's a shame.
Nate is alive.
We're looking for a new editor, really.
That kid that like Rambo gave his like dead Vietnamese girlfriend's necklace to, statistically is of an age and at a time to have like taken a shot at our producer, right? And Rambo is sort of like Rambo is sort of like he doesn't have room in his life for like this kind of femininity, you know?
Yeah. Rambo's like, no, I'm refusing the call. Then we get another scene of Captain Sunglasses doing the same thing. The soldiers are like betting on the prisoners. It's more just like gratuitous, like, oh, the situation in Burma is really bad. It's basically the same scene we saw earlier on. Like, it even looks like it was filmed on the same day.
Another one's happening later.
A lot of padding in this.
Yeah. Weirdly, a lot of padding because it's like 90 fucking minutes. Like, this is not a long
struggled to reach that.
It's 91 minutes, and there is a ton of fat on these fucking bones.
Yeah. So she goes back to the missionaries.
She goes to the Rambo forge.
Fuck, I forgot about the Rambo forge.
Rambo is forging Narsil.
God, I forgot. He's holding the fucking hammer so far down. Like, what are you doing, man? He's gonna tire himself out. You have to hold it right at the hilt. Anyway, we finally get the scene where he forges his own knife. They cut it from Rambo 3. They wouldn't let him do it. He's doing it now, baby.
Well, that doesn't happen till later. No, he's just in the Rambo forge. Right. So we established that he has a forge. And Sarah comes back and says, hey, can I give you the call to adventure? He's like, no, I'm actually still refusing that, but thank you. Try one more time later. And then we more padding. We cut back to this village where Captain Sunglasses is rounding up young boys to turn them into child soldiers.
There's a lot of fucking will they, won't they about Rambo doing the thing.
Yeah, it's like, Rambo, we know you're Rambo. Yeah, come on, like... So yeah, he takes some child soldiers and makes some threats. So like, again, for the third time we've established like, shit is bad in Burma. We know, thank you.
Only time they bother to like subtitle that guy. He doesn't get to speak much.
I've got to rant about that in the third act of this fucking film. Don't worry.
Okay, all right, we'll get there.
That one's on lock.
Then Rambo goes to the Ramboat, and Sarah is on the boat. And then it's raining at night, and you know, it's all very dramatic. And then she's like, can I give you the call to adventure? She's like, no, so fuck off, I'm not doing it. Yeah. And she's like, look, I'm here to make a difference, and I want to change the world. And Rambo's like, you can't change the world. People can't change. Violence is always going to happen. It's in our nature. He says peace is an accident. Killing is like really, really easy. Violence
Killing is as
like,
easy as breathing, which is a good line, actually.
Yeah. But that's the only good line in the movie because the rest of the dialogue is
unfortunately, he delivers it like, which is sort of undercuts it.
Probably why I don't remember that line.
Yeah. So Rambo is basically just like, look, violence is endemic to human nature. Like, go home, live a nice life in the US, like, and be free of whatever you can. Because, you know, I don't care about anybody. And she says, you know, you must care. You must care about something, because if you didn't care, you would have just taken the money and then left us there for dead. Or you would have like taken the money, like taken us up the river and then fucked off. Like, you must care. And Rambo's like, okay, fine, I'm accepting the call to adventure.
God fucking damn it, all right, fine. I'll accept the call to adventure.
Is this now the point at which he forges the big fucking knife?
No, still
no.
No,
he doesn't do that yet.
Okay.
I watched this. I watched this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair shout. We watched this movie expecting to record it maybe 4 episodes ago.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I did not find it in my soul to rewatch it. I gave it a real thought and it was like, no. It's not.
All right, so he takes them up the river. We get like a little bit of background about each of the missionaries. One of them, Michael, you know, the soy jack guy, her husband, he's Fiancé. Like a soy kind of doctor. There's like a soy dentist, there's like a soy, I don't know, and then she's like I don't know what she does. Her role is girl. She's a
Christian missionary. She's the girl in the gang.
Unfortunately,
she's a white woman.
Also, we get this interesting line where she and Rambo have this conversation about like the USA, and Rambo's just like, oh, I actually haven't been back in like I've not been back since like Rambo.
Yeah, since I killed
since
dozens of cops.
taken out of prison.
Yeah, I'm probably
and
like
sent to
wanted
Vietnam.
actually. Like, yeah, that's probably not good.
Yeah, what's the statute of limitations on Roaring Rampage of Revenge?
Yeah,
Like, is that 20 years?
Yeah. And she says, do you have any
Probably fine.
family stateside? And he's like, oh, I think my dad might still be alive, which is the first we've heard of this guy. So, my dad used to live in Arizona. I don't know, maybe I've not been back. She says, oh, it's like really different, and like you should consider going back there maybe. Like 9/11 happened. It's 2008 and
He's like,
nothing
I
else
heard
bad
about
is
that.
going
And
to
I
happen.
feel bad about maybe helping cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he feels bad because like one of his like adopted son figure's like passport was found on the street in Manhattan. Yeah.
With this necklace, and Rambo's like, oh, shit.
That's why he's been staying in Thailand, is because he's now like linked. He's gonna go to fucking Guantanamo if he goes
Also,
back to the US.
Rambo's passport is definitely out of date.
He
That's
can't
true.
go back.
Does he? He doesn't have like Thai citizenship either. He's like a stateless person. So anyway, so they go on the boat down the river, and there's some like lights and some party music off to one side, and Rambo goes, Burmese river pirates, which I'm reliably informed is not a thing. And
Okay.
these Burmese river pirates,
If
they're
you are a
having their
Burmese
like
river pirate and you're listening to this show, write in, kill James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't kill James Bond / contacts. Just let us know. Like, what are you up to?
yeah. So these
Look,
Burmese.
if you are a Burmese estuary pirate, stop fucking writing in. I'm sick of getting your messages.
Yeah.
We do not want to hear from you.
Burmese
We don't
sick of
Delta
you.
pirates.
Burmese
No.
river pirates own Oxbow Lake. Fuck off.
If you're in an Oxbow Lake right now, you can fuck right off. There's no two ways. I really thought I would have to deal with Oxbow Lakes much more than I've had to in my later life. I learned about them quite often.
Yeah. So these Burmese river pirates, it's their works night out, I guess.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
They're not really doing any river pirate. I would say if
It's
you're
middle
doing
of the
river
day
piracy,
too. Like, they're just hanging.
yeah. One of the things that you need to do when you're doing some river piracy is watch the river.
Yeah.
They're listening to an episode of Kill James Bond, man. They're distracted.
Yeah. And so Rambo's like, okay, cool. We'll sneak past them in the boat. This does not work. One of them looks over from their episode of Kill James Bond and is like, hey, get him. Right?
Hey, is that Rambo?
They have a PT boat, which, how did it get there? Why did they, whatever. Anyway, they pull the thing alongside, and Rambo's like, don't look them in the eyes or they'll kill you. To which I wrote, why?
They're much
I
like
always, why?
Tyrannosaur for this, I think. Really, like this.
Unusual thing to take offense at.
Yeah, so we get some white woman peril, right? Which is they're going past all of the like soy missionaries, and the soy missionaries are like.
So, I just thought it was like kind of funny, maybe slightly offensive. Just the pirates are all like really autistic.
They just can't make eye contact, man. Listen, it makes them uncomfortable.
The pirates have scopophobia?
They're really shy.
The scopophobic Burmese river pirates.
Don't look them in the eye, it makes them feel uncomfortable.
They get triggered and owned because the woman who's Sarah, she looks one of them in the eye, and that activates like molestation mode.
Yeah, that activates the like rape switch in every one of their heads, which apparently is a thing that exists.
You never want to activate that. But
yeah,
they're like a woman. Brilliant.
They're like a woman.
Mm-hmm.
A woman. Yeah,
They
so
go
they
watch a
try and
mama.
like
Same switch.
they like menace her, and Rambo's like, don't like this. He's inching closer to going Rambo mode.
He's nearly Rambo mode.
Well,
Yeah,
they specifically announced their intention, which is to kidnap Sarah, and if any of the others resist, they'll kill them. And we surmise
good
the
to have
reason they
like
want to
clear
kidnap Sarah.
organizational strategies. That's good management. You keep your subordinates looped in. Unfortunately for them, Rambo is about to enter Rambo mode, and when they try to kidnap her, all right. So there's a thing, right? Because of John Wick and because of action movies of its generation, right? Every cunt has to have the ability to do a bunch of very fancy pistol shooting. We have literally never seen Rambo use a pistol before, and I want to know where and how and when has Rambo been practicing his IPSC like John Wick speed shooting motherfucking shit during his life of riverine snake fucking?
He has nothing but time. He's been practicing. He's been hanging out. He's got his fast twitch muscle fibers right up there. That's why he's so big. It's all fast twitch. It's crazy. He just, on the snakes. What else? That's a great target. They're very small. Small head.
Fast.
Folks, if you can hit a snake, you can hit a guy. I'm saying this. He pulls out his gun and like bombs all these motherfuckers off in like 0.3 of a second. Everyone on the boat is like, oh, what the fuck? You killed him? And he's like, violence is cool. It's actually sick. That's his. I think that's the thing. He grabs the soy guy by the fucking lapels and like slams him against one of the upright poles, and it's just like, it was cool that I did that. And he's like, I disagree.
He executes one of the pirates who's wounded, and Rambo executes him on the floor. And Michael, the soy doctor, is really upset. He's like, no, you can't kill people. And Rambo chokes him and shouts at him.
Yeah, the Michael Soy Doctor says, I have to report this, which sort of begs the question of, to whom?
To whom?
God?
The fucking Burmese river pirate cops?
Yeah.
Who we are reliably informed do not exist.
It's like more of the same guys, but they just have like cop hats.
If you are a member of the Burmese River Pirate Police, please do write in.
It's the Burmese River Pirateers.
Burmese River Estuary Police, fuck off. We're sick of hearing from you.
This is ostensibly a movie about war crime.
We hate the fucking Burmese Estuary Police. We've said this. It's on record.
He turns the boat around and he dumps them all back in Thailand. Mm-hmm. And Sarah comes to find him again because he can't have enough fucking heart-to-hearts with this woman. And much
he doesn't dump them in Thailand. He leaves them in Burma at their destination.
No, you're right. Okay, I've confused this. The reason why I've confused this is before she gets off.
4 weeks ago.
I thought she did this in a like separate scene on the boat, but like whatever. She gives him a little crucifix necklace.
Yeah. Says, thanks for taking us. Good for you.
Like, women,
that's the only way,
emotional necklace dispensers.
This is the only way Sylvester Stallone, when writing a movie, knows how to imply that a woman has taken a shine for someone is to give them a necklace.
That's the second woman in his life who's given it. Damn, you're right. Like, I've forgotten about that.
This also sort of like heavily implies that if in the next Rambo movie he gives that little crucifix to like like a girl or something, she's gonna do Christian 9/11 20 years later.
Mexican 9/11.
Which I'm not thrilled about. Mexican 9.
Yeah, next one's set in Mexico. This pretends. Yeah.
My God, you're right. Sylvester Stallone does women just be giving out necklaces.
Because he wrote both of those. Like,
Rambo doesn't comment on this. Rambo's not just like, just be careful where you step. Just like, just for the next 30 seconds, could you just stay here? Like, don't go anywhere.
Rambo's not like, wow, what a coincidence. Holy shit.
Like, actually, maybe I don't want this. Like,
take this back.
Rambo drops them off in Burma, and they do some missionary shit, which is, as they describe it.
Not yet, though.
For fuck's sake. Okay. Please cut all of the bits where I get the scene wrong.
So they walk off to do their missionary shit, and Rambo goes on his way back to Thailand, and he goes via the boat where the bodies of the river pirates are.
Yeah. And he has to cover up his murder from the Burmese river pirate cops.
Yeah. So, they're tough, I'll get you. So he burns the bodies angrily. He's flashing back to Rambo's 1, 2, and 3, mainly 2. And then he throws his knife into the river.
He's like, I'm sick of violence. Everyone hates me when I do it. Everyone's so mad at
Rambo
me
anymore. Yeah.
Then the missionaries reach the village, and it's pretty.
Here we get heavy. A scene. Here we get a fucking scene. This scene is, look how nice Christian missionaries are. It's shot from the POV of the woman. It tracks her as she walks through the village, and like there's all the other members of her group, which is like talking to kids, like helping people. She walks past one guy, and he fully like takes his glasses off, kneels down to a kid, and goes, "Let's see what I can do for you." And I'm like, "Shut up, fuck off."
They're doing physical and spiritual healing because they have some like Bible study classes, and I'm sort of writing down. If these people are Christians already, and they're being oppressed for being Christians, what do they need missionaries
The missionaries are rocking off and going, you ever heard of Jesus? And they're like, yes.
And they're like, yes.
We are familiar.
And again, her job here,
heard about him, yeah.
Sarah's job is just wife. She like her husband's like fucking operating on kids or whatever the fuck, and she's just like going around.
She's just giving out necklaces to everyone she meets.
Yeah,
absolutely splitting them out like a broken vending machine.
Yeah. Now, what can we talk about?
There's a lot of like wounded kids in the village. Like before the village gets fucking annihilated. Just want to take a moment to note
Jesus
that like
Christ.
There's like kids with their legs blown off. Like when they're showing us the state of the village again, it's really laying on the gratuitous like horror, and that is about to get worse because
there's so many women and kids in the village, and so many nice white people as well.
Don't get attached.
No. So at this point, we have to do some war crimes. If you remember Rambo 3, the bit where the Soviets like attack helicopter the fuck out of the Afghan village.
Can we just clip you saying at this point we have to do some war crimes?
It's time.
You don't have to clip that. I'll say that at any time. So the Tamador fucking start mortaring the village, right? And we get a lot of gore.
Because Captain Sunglasses has selected the bloody mess perk from Fallout 3.
Yeah.
So people do just get turned into like chunks of like mince.
Yeah, but they build to it. I really liked it. I think this is a very like interesting choice that they made as they build to that. Like the scene starts out and there's like an explosion. And everyone's like, "Oh shit, we're getting mortared," and people are running around and there's more explosions, and no one's like really dying yet. And the first guy to go, remember the guy I just said who kneels down, takes his glass off, and he's like, "Let's see what I can do for you." He fucking pops like a balloon. And that's the first bit of this that they show. Like, the first violence is that this one white guy who they've been like, look how nice this guy is, explodes just into pink mist. And then they flip the big explosion switch. And
I really, we got a lot of switches here with the rape switch and the Rambo switch and the explosion switch.
The stop Brexit button.
I could talk about this scene for about an hour and a half, right? Because it's fascinatingly, surreally violent in a way that, like, it isn't meaningfully violence even. It's just gore. Like, the amount of it's so desperate to like push like violence and like the effects of violence on you that it sort of like it degenerates completely. It loses all sense of like meaning or coherence until you're just it becomes, honestly, and I swear to God, this is like, I come by this feeling from a place of absolute sincerity. This scene is really funny, and it's a scene about like war crimes happening.
So funny. There are points. Like, because you get overwhelmed. They're trying to show ultra violence, but they're trying to show it like sincerely, and there's no real way to do that. There are ways to do that. People have made better films that actually get violence across well, but this one, all they have is gore and props, so all they're doing is just like splattering guys, and
so many dudes get splattered too.
It feels like one of those comedians who's just like, "Are you triggered?" Like, and it's like, I am actually upset by what you're doing, but also it's kind of pathetic. Like, there's like children get shot, and we have like shown this. It's like there's a guy running with a baby in his arms, and like he gets shot from behind, and the bullet goes through both of them. Like, people get set on fire, like women get clubbed to death. Like, it's just, it goes on and on and on, and it becomes
to the
like
point that there's
pathetic.
There's no like depth or texture in any of this, which means you don't feel any of it. Instead, it's sort of the opposite. There's a bit where like, she's running through the village. This whole scene is like her escaping the village, right? And there's a bit where a kid gets blown to shreds by a mortar, and she goes, "No!" And at that point, I started laughing, and I kind of didn't really stop for the rest of it because it's like, it's such a disconnect, and it was so poorly acted that it just sort of like it became like a sort of a parody of itself.
Something happened to editing between Rambo 3 and this one, because it's so staccato. Like, no shot breathes for even a second. It's just like violence, cut, violence, cut, violence, cut, violence, cut. Someone slams a kid into a fucking tree by holding the legs, and it's like, at this point, there's nothing left in me, and I'm just like looking at this and going, okay. Someone ostensibly throws a child into a burning building, but it's a doll, and it pirouettes so nicely. And
it's so obviously there's such a cut, and then it's so obviously a doll after that.
Or it's the kind of shit you can only do if you think you're like saying something by doing it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, they really, really think they're saying something, but there's no deliberation or hesitation in a way that would like make any of this work. There's no sort of like texture to it. It's just sort of like things running together. Like, if you sort of pass this as it's presented, the Burmese military have started firing mortars at a village and then immediately sprinting into their own mortar fire to go and like bayonet children into fires. And it just sort of
you know what this film reminds me
falls
of?
apart. What does it remind you of?
The Room, in that it is absolutely sincere and yet awfully executed.
It's 100% sincere. That's the worst part, and we'll get into that. But
I did learn something about mortars in the course of this scene, though, which is that mortars work this way. Either it hits next to you and you're fine, or it hits you and both of your legs fall off. And this happens about 50 fucking times. And the first time you're like, oh, damn, okay. The 50th time you see an extra's CGI legs blow off, you just it stops making an impact, and it's just like, oh, okay, we're just doing more of this now, I guess.
The reason why it feels ridiculous is because they don't do any humanizing moments at all. Like, it's just violence upon violence upon violence. Like, if you were actually, you know, if God forbid, if you were experiencing something like this, like, there would be other emotions than just like pain, fear. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's garbage. It's the worst.
If you're currently experiencing mortar fire, please go to killjoys1.com/contact.
I mean, I don't reply to those emails very quickly.
If you are currently experiencing machine gun fire, stop writing in. We are sick of hearing from you. This is the weirdest running bit I've ever done.
Yeah.
Is it the same guy who's writing in all the time under machine gun
Burmese
fire?
River pirate, yeah. I should also say that in their attempt to like convey everything bad that's possible, they do also attempt to include some rape in this. But they're curiously squeamish about that, and that they, you know, obviously for like ratings reasons, they cut away from that. But then it's like, it's even more striking that the next sort of like, you know, 10 minutes of the scene are dudes getting their legs blown off. It's like sort of, it's a really striking double standard, you know, that this is sort of like, this is the kind of violence that's like sacrosanct and has to be sort of like just implied. And this is the kind of violence that we're really going to like zoom in on, you know?
Yeah. And of course, Captain Sunglasses is watching all of this happen, and Sarah is captured and taken back.
We get some sad music, some sad captured white people music, which is going to be a recurring motif.
And John, meanwhile, does not know anything about this. John is dreaming about Colonel Sam from the previous Rambo movies. R.I.P. to that actor. Right. Sadly, passed away after Rambo 3 before he could be disgraced by appearing in this nonsense.
Do you think Colonel Sam lived to see 9/11? Is the real question.
I think Colonel Sam died of a broken heart on 9/12.
Ooh,
that's what happened.
Okay.
Either that, or he died on 9/10, being like, I've had a great career. I've safeguarded my country. I've done a really good job. Like, America has never been safer and more prosperous than it is right now. I'm out.
I think he felt
over,
like
baby.
that.
Good night.
He wanted to celebrate the end of a long career by going to Windows on the World. And he picked a really bad day to do it.
God,
is the main thing.
Being a US policymaker and dying in 2000 must have been the greatest life of all time. Just like sorted.
Oh yeah,
I'm done.
Just cash out.
Bye.
Just cash me out. Yeah.
Francis Fukuyama like putting his feet up and taking a big drink of coffee on 9/10. Like,
reckon that's history over.
Because we're playing Rambo 3 again, the Rambo 3 CIA guy who's like, hey bestie, Colonel Troutman has been captured, is here played by some other fucking guy who shows up and is like...
He's a pastor, in fact.
Yeah, he's like boss missionary, and he's like, Rambo, you cannot believe what has happened since you fucking left that village. Would you mind going up there and getting my guys back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We hired some mercenaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
He says to Rambo, I've hired some mercenaries because I'm a pastor and that's the sort of thing I do. Please, can you just guide the mercenaries to the same place you dropped the missionaries, and that'll be it. And then Rambo's like, yeah, okay, sure. I'm guessing I'm back.
Let me go to my brooding forge.
Yes, he forges a new knife whilst this guy prays.
Now he forges the new knife.
Well,
he does.
It's more of a, he gets a billet and he heats it up to about red and he draws it out exactly 3 inches and then quenches it. Now, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?
He's doing the forged in fire speed knife making.
This will not kill. What are you doing?
He makes a kind of machete, I guess.
Like a
but
cleaver.
While he's doing it, he's brooding to himself. And I have my very first Rambo 4 drop, which is,
you didn't kill for your country. You killed for yourself.
Which is interesting, right? That could be a real sort of emotional crux, is because from Rambo 1 to Rambo 2 to Rambo 3 to this, you didn't kill for your country is an interesting moment of self-realization. And it's all right, cool, fuck America then. You were right in Rambo 1 when you were like, man, this place is terrible and I hate it. And maybe that's why you've just kind of stuck around re-invading Vietnam and Afghanistan. This does not last. It's just a sort of passing moment where he's like, nah, I do it because I like it. Bye.
And then we meet our gang of mercenaries who are
not
exactly
oh boy. Because the thing is, right, when you're sending mercenaries to Burma, what you want to do is you want to send the most geezer English man I was in Burma. See? Precedent.
No, that's him, actually. He's in this movie. Yeah, so The thing is, this scene, they're like, all right, we've got one fucking scene where these guys are going to be talking. We have to make sure they get their entire deal across. And oh boy, do we learn all of these characters' whole deals as they just kind of sit on the boat and just say what their thing is out loud to nobody in turn. Yeah,
there's a gang of about 4 or 5 mercenaries, only 2 of whom are important. The leader is, I just got him down as Mr. SAS.
I believe his name is Lewis.
I call him Geezer because he's a fucking geezer, right? Every time he's on the boat, he's going...
I said to him, look, mate, that's what you get when you go trespassing into fucking Burma.
Fucking Burma, son.
Fucking Burma.
He's... fucking Burma, also known as fucking Myanmar.
He's very offensive. He uses ableist slurs, and his Twitch fans are really upset by it.
Yeah. There's also his younger, nicer compatriot. He's just called Schoolboy, but I thought of him as Schoolboy Q every time.
He just sort of turns around and says, apropos of nothing to Rambo, they call me Schoolboy, and I'm like, all right,
they
man.
shouldn't call you that. Buddy.
What?
That's not a good nickname. I wouldn't own that one.
He's the nice one.
I'd hold out for a nicer nickname.
He's the nice one. He's the sniper.
He's former SBS. He's the sniper. He's like a
he
nice guy.
He looks like Nicholas Hoult in The Menu, which should caught me off guard the entire time. I don't know.
I was going to say he looks a bit like the guy from Lost, and then the geezer one looks a bit like the other guy from Lost.
Yeah. So geezer blames the mercenaries for their own troubles. He's like, fucking god squatters, getting themselves in trouble. We're going to fucking sort this out.
And so on.
So they get to the spot, and there's these 2 local boys there who are part of the resistance, I guess, who are like, yeah, we'll guide you to the village.
We skipped ahead a bit.
Have we?
Because there is some more stuff on the boat, namely the geezer dude. He tests Rambo's resolve. Weirdly, he's calling him Boatman the whole time, and he's like,
he's calling him Boatman.
Hey, Boatman, why can't the fucking boat go any fucking faster?
Okay. So I said yesterday. What I mean is, last mainline Kill James Bond episode, Rambo 3, Nate set out a thing called Chekhov's Mongo. I want to put forward a separate theory here, and this is called big guy blindness, which is when you're in a situation with the biggest man that God has ever created, and you're like somehow trying to intimidate him. And Lewis spends the entire scene like just trying to like intimidate Rambo, and it's comical because Lewis isn't small. He's a big guy, but he's like nothing compared to the sheer
like the thieves
scale.
in Skyrim who try and mug you with like an iron dagger when you're standing there in like full Daedric armor.
It's so funny.
Also, I should say, intercut with this, we also get a little bit of stuff about what Sarah's up to. And what Sarah's up to is a kind of perilous torture porn that I think is significantly more twisted than most actual pornography.
I believe
she's
so,
just sort of like being racially menaced by the existence of Burmese dudes. She's like tied up in a pigsty, and she's sort of like the guy's walking around on the floorboards like above her. And it's just sort of like really gratuitous and weird, and sort of like the air is sexual threat, but again, we're not like making that explicit, even though we kind of made it explicit in a way that we cut away from in the village when we did it.
I mean,
to,
let's
like,
be
Karen
clear.
people.
Like the sexual threat here is that there are men of color walking around.
Yeah,
like that's
that's
what the movie's
yeah.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
So John drops them off at the same place he left the missionaries. And then there's two local boys who are going to guide them. And they said there's 100 soldiers. And Geezer's like, stay with the boatman. He uses some racial slurs.
I have a fucking drop about that. He gets really like target fixated on the boatman thing. I've run a couple of lines together because basically this whole scene is him going,
Hey, why aren't you waiting with the boat? You're the boatman. You stay with the boat. He's the boatman. He stays with the fucking boat.
he really wants him to stay with the fucking boat on account of
Also,
him being
he's
the
going
boat.
like
He's
full
the boatman.
JW Pepper mode on these like Burmese guys who are helping them out.
Realistic depiction of British person.
Yeah. I'm too racist to trust them to look after the boat, so you, boatman, as the only white man, please stay with the boatman. And
Rambo,
John's like,
stay with
I'm
the
going to
Rambo.
come with you. And he's like, no, stay with the fucking boat. And he's like, all right then.
Yeah. I should also say that they're like guides, they're Korean guides. No like uniform or anything. They're just like two kids.
No uniform, no name, no character. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No presence.
I should say the Korean National Liberation Army was like emphasis on the army part. Like that's why it's a civil war. Anyway.
Mercenaries go to the ruins of the village, and obviously it's pretty horrific. People have been
that's where
beheaded.
we get our title line. I've seen some shit, but I ain't never seen some shit like this. And then the other guy goes, "Word," in a really like incongruous. let me do the thing again.
Man, I have seen some shit. Brother, I ain't never seen no shit like this.
Word.
Word. Which,
Yeah.
and they're sort
the
of
mercenaries are like, well,
these
the prisoners are
hardened
almost
mercenaries,
like certainly dead, but like, let's go check it
Yeah.
out and then fuck off, just sort of tick the box. Right?
The other thing is that they're like horrified, these like hardened mercenaries are like horrified by the shit that the Burmese military has been doing because it's like so far like out of pocket.
Listen, man.
Not to be like this, if you've been in the SAS as like two of these dudes textually have, like a decent part of your like working career is training people to do that shit. That's what it's for. Anyway.
I hate to say it. CGI fly technology isn't there in the way that this movie thinks that it is. Because they got nothing but CGI flies and they look like hot shit and they're really distracting.
Oh, they walk past Chekhov's bomb, which is a British like massive bomb that we dropped in the jungle and then just kind of left there. And it's leaking high explosive.
But whilst they are in the village, the army arrive because they're going to play their prisoner execution minefield game. And the mercenaries all hide, and then
they
just
love that shit. That's
they
like
do.
the fucking. That's like the World Cup to them.
Yeah.
You know?
In that they do it like 3 times a week. But then the mercenaries who are all hiding realize they're right in the firing line. It's like a very tense scene. The prisoners are being made to run across the minefield. And then who appears with his bow and arrow? But John Q. Rambo.
Oh, we've not seen him do Rambo shit. This whole
goes Rambo
fucking
mode.
movie, he's
Yeah.
got a bow. That's his thing. He's got a
Shoots
fucking
people
bow.
in the
Did he
head.
forge that as well?
You see
like,
him
when...
well, he had the bow. You see him shooting these people, he shoots them, and then you don't see him. You're just getting the arrows flying out of nowhere. And then when
fucking
he
Legolas.
jumps into shot, the biggest man I've ever seen in my fucking life holding a bow. I don't know. I just laughed. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's very funny.
That's not the class you are, man. You're clearly a barbarian. What are you doing?
Why are you doing stealth archer shit?
Why you got a fucking ranger bow?
He has to have a sort of a fight with the geezer guy who's like, I don't give a fuck. We gotta go back to the fucking boat. And the way that Rambo resolves this is by holding him at arrow point in a shot that tracks along his arm and makes a very big deal of the like little crucifix that he's now wearing around his wrist instead of his neck. Just to make really explicit,
thick, I guess.
Rambo is like God's Rambo now.
He's yes, he's a soldier of God now. That's the main thing about Rambo.
So he's like, come on, we gotta go rescue them, or at least
infiltrate
see
the camp,
whatever's left of them. So they go to Captain Sunglass's camp. They sneak in on a truck. One of the missionaries has been eaten by pigs.
Yeah, like partially eaten. Meanwhile, all of the troops are doing some more sexual menace, but in a way that's like the thing about the boys, right, in the Burmese military is that they love to watch 4 women listlessly dance in total silence. And they do this for about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
it seems like.
My note says, what is this scene supposed to tell us about the Burmese people? And then I don't think I've made another note for 20 minutes.
No.
It's just like...
So there's these 4 women in not a lot of clothing who are being forced to dance, who are very clearly like upset by this. And for the entertainment of Captain Sunglass's men, who are like hooting and throwing things at them and then eventually assaulting them. Just wanted to make a note that is happening in the background of what's happening next, because that's going to be important.
It lends
later.
no urgency to the rescue attempt whatsoever.
No.
Or indeed any sort of sense of like consequence to the movie. It's just sort of like a thing that happens to establish that these guys are bad.
And also that they're distracted. Which I guess
incidentally, in the course of like hitting the big rape switch, right? Like one of those dudes sets off a smoke grenade in the like cabin that they're in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever like been around a smoke grenade. It's just like it's not conducive to like breathing it in, you know? But yeah, anyway, so
is Captain Sunglasses about to nonce a boy? Did I understand what the film was showing me?
Because this motherfucker gay. He's gay. And that makes him extra evil. We see him like go into his cabin to like nonce a boy. I actually don't know what age, but it doesn't. I don't think it matters to the movie. I think the point that the movie is making with this is just like this motherfucker gay.
He's a gay pedophile,
which is more depraved. Yeah, and John
rescues Michael, and then Sarah. Schoolboy is like silently taking out people because he's the sniper, and Sarah is led away. At which point, Geezer's like, leave her behind. We got enough of them. And Rambo's like, oh, I'm going to go get her. So cool. Great. She is about to be raped, it is implied. And then John appears behind the guy.
But only ever implied. We're fully showing that. Like within the sort of constraints of the like rating system, we're sort of like making that pretty explicit about these other women. Not the white one, though.
Yeah, that was interesting.
John appears behind this guy and stealthily kills him with a knife. Hold on. No, wait. He actually rips his throat out with his bare hands.
His throat out with his bare hands.
Sorry,
do that.
Interesting.
So they've been abandoned by the geezer and his mates, and so they're sort of like left exposed. But Schoolboy Q comes back for them, and because he's the sniper, he has the rifle that when it hits you launches you horizontally about 50 feet.
Yeah, no, he's got like a Barrett 50. Like, what is happening here, man?
He's applied kinesis to some of his arrows.
It's a transfer of kinetic energy. If your body moved with the bullet, it wouldn't hurt. But anyway.
And the reason I wanted to make a note of those 4 women earlier on is because obviously Rambo and Schoolboy and Sarah escaped the camp. Those 4 Burmese women are not rescued.
No.
Nope.
Yep.
Never like confronted at all.
No, they do not matter.
This movie has an obsession with sexual assault.
Just as much prisoners as Sarah is, but they are not important.
The movie...
And presumably just as Christian, by the way, if we've established that about the Quran.
Yeah, I wonder if there's anything else about them, though, that might discount the value of their lives. Impossible to say. So,
this movie loves to... My note here just says, you have a fucking responsibility as a filmmaker to not do this. And I feel like I might have just written that 50 or 60 times, and that's the rest of my notes. But this movie will show you non-white bodies and go, look at how devalued these people are. And it's like, yes, by you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're doing this. You've set up every part of this. You're not being true to life here. You're being loathsome, being disgusting.
Yeah, it's barely even the Rambo 3 thing where it's like, oh, Rambo is a friend to all oppressed people. So he doesn't give a shit.
No.
Like he said, textually, he doesn't give a shit. He's just out here for himself. And because he now, is there for Jesus.
Who is presumably white in Rambo's imagination.
Yes.
So during this whole camp escape sequence, it's absolutely raining. It's pelting it down. In the morning, everybody's running through the jungle, which is very dry. And, if there's one thing we know about the rainforest is that it dries very easily and quickly. But whatever.
Sure.
At this point, my notes say Sarah's fur is cunt. And I think I can't read my handwriting, and it says Sarah's foot is cut, because I don't remember her wearing a fur coat in this scene, but that would have been amazing.
No, maybe she was wearing like a big fur coat. I don't know.
Yeah, in the
Really
jungle
nice.
too. She's dedicated. She's
Okay.
going to ruin that fur coat.
It's
but-
fucked.
So my notes running into Cruella here. So
Look, sometimes you meet somebody and they've got a fur fetish. Like this, that happens.
they're trying to escape by river, and unfortunately, the plan sort of gets fucked here when they remember that Burma has a navy.
Oh, shit.
So Captain Sunglasses calls in the Navy. Also, Captain Sunglasses does a weird gay little walk. Like he walks like Elmer Fudd. I don't know what the fuck that's all about.
Impossible to know.
It's very, very odd.
It's really quite homophobic, but in a way that's like baffling to try and explain.
Yeah, it's
is
almost
the main
like they've
thing
told
about
this actor, like, can you please mince? And he's gone, what is that? And they've given him like 10 seconds of explanation. He's gone, all right, and this is what he came up with.
That actor, by the way, is Karen. And so, like, he's depicting sort of like the, genociders of his own people, but the way in which he's been forced to do it with the direction is like gay style, which I don't know how I feel about that. Not good, not positively.
Not great.
Geezer steps on a fucking landmine and gets his legs shredded.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch, mate. Wouldn't have happened to me.
I don't remember what caused me to write this down, but my next note is about to kill more dogs than the ATF.
Oh yeah, they released some dogs. They do release
the dogs, and we know that Rambo from Rambo 1 does not like dogs. So Rambo helps Sarah and Schoolboy escape by drawing off the Burmese army and firing guns in the air and getting them to chase him. And then he borrows a claymore from Schoolboy and attaches it to the British World War II bomb and runs away and blows it up and sees a big distraction. No donkey noises in this one. No donkeys were harmed in the making of this film.
So we're sort of meant to understand that this has taken out fucking hundreds of Burmese soldiers. Mm-hmm. The impact on the rest of the film, nil. Absolutely not. May as well not have bothered.
Yeah, because when Sarah and Schoolboy get back to the boat, the lads have all been captured. Captain Sunglasses is there. At this point, we get some transphobia. We get this is racism, interesting. Yeah, actually, like a good combo.
Well, I wrote this down too. Yeah, so the geezer guy, he's being lightly tortured, and he calls the sunglasses guy a ladyboy cunt, begging your pardon, which is an intriguingly racist piece of misaimed transphobia, right?
Because wrong country.
Famously, that's Thailand, which is a different country. I mean, you're not meant to sympathize with him at this point, but you also kind of are. It's... I know I said we do serious film criticism earlier. I sort of it's deserted me at this point. I
got a bit of serious film criticism, if anyone wants to hear some of that. This movie loves to show the sunglasses man yelling, and when it does, it consistently leaves him untranslated.
Mm-hmm.
But it translated him at some point, which led you to know, if you are using foreign languages, right, in your movie, and you're only translating them sometimes, you're admitting that every time you don't, that you're just using it as noise.
Yeah.
It's just part of the scene setting for you. This bad guy's yelling shit into a microphone and it's left untranslated. He's coordinating his actions and it's untranslated. He's not a villain with a plan. He's just foreign.
Yep.
They're just using foreign voices as part of the threat. That's it.
Foreign and gay.
You've really hit the nail on the head there, Dev.
Mm-hmm.
But just as the lads are about to be executed, who should appear but John Quentin Rambo, who beheads a man and steals a big gun and starts...
I have some thoughts about the big gun because... So we have Rambo on what is like a pencil-mounted M2 Browning machine gun. We have Schoolboy Q with the Barrett M82. And my suggestion is, given the return of sort of like absolute gore, but in a sort of like good way, a way that we're meant to feel like positive about, the only thing that this film truly feels anything for is the 50 caliber Browning machine gun cartridge. Because we see it go into a lot of people, and we see in a lot of detail people get like blown apart by it and stuff. And it is absolutely I compared the sort of like the sexual menace of Sarah to being like more perverse than pornography. This is absolutely pornographic.
This is pornographic,
but it's like it's pornographic for people who are sort of like aroused in a like quite possibly in a sexual way, quite possibly in more than a sexual way by this kind of violence. And you know, we get a lot of killing, get a lot of violence. Sarah, all she does is cry, but, you know, I'd be crying too if I was standing next to an M2 with no hearing protection. And
I'd be crying too if I was on the set of Rambo 4.
Yeah. Crucially, our Soyjak doctor missionary.
Now, listeners... So listeners, if I told you, okay, we've got a Christian missionary who thinks that killing people is always wrong. By the end of the movie, obviously his arc is he's going to have to like kill someone and like commit some violence and learn that actually sometimes it's unavoidable. That's his arc. Okay. Now, what would be the most obvious possible way you could think for a Christian missionary to learn this lesson? Like, genuinely, what is your first thought? Obviously, you go, well, it's Cain and Abel. He's gonna kill someone with a rock, but they wouldn't do that because that's incredibly fucking obvious, right? At the very least, like let him use a hammer and like nail in someone, like maybe that, or is that too on the nose? But no, of course, he beats somebody like Cain and Abel. He beats a guy to death with a rock, right? It's like, okay, great. Thought you were really clever with that one, didn't you?
Yeah, he has to learn independently that killing is good.
Killing is base sometimes. Mm-hmm. That's the apotheosis of my character arc. Thank you, Rambo 4.
And is that also the movie's like statement? Like,
yes, yeah,
killing
genuinely,
is bad,
killing
sometimes
is good.
it rules. Actually, like,
yeah,
yes.
The thing is, the action isn't even good.
No,
it's
not compelling to watch.
There's a flamethrower boat
edited like shit. It's choppy. It's sped up. It's shit. Like, if you're sacrificing everything just for the action, and the action isn't even good, like, you've got nothing.
You know the movie within a movie in Inglourious Bastards, the Nazi propaganda movie, where Daniel Bruhl's character is like, he's a sniper in a church tower, and what seems like the whole movie is like gratuitous, incomprehensible shots of him like picking off Soviet soldiers with a sniper rifle. And sort of like Hitler and all the audience like watching this and laughing. But, you know, that's what this is. That's what that's aimed at, you know. It's the same. And so
finally, Captain Sunglasses makes a run for it.
Yeah, the sort of the Mujahideen arrive in this case in the guise of the Korean National Liberation Army. Again, just some guys with guns,
uniforms, boys. You can Google it even.
The thing that they do, which is hysterical for any sort of like student of insurgencies, is they let the army retreat in disorder. They just let them go.
No,
the guys who have been.
That's
firing the mortar. The guys have been bayoneting. No. No
wonder the Civil War's been going on so fucking long. That's what finished the job. Right. But Captain Sunglasses makes a run for it, and of course Rambo appears behind him like Batman, stabs him, and then pulls his intestines out. The CGI when he does that is like weirdly really bad.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Considering all the practical stuff they've done, like it just looks really bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And it's not apotheosis. These characters have never met each other before. Like, there's nothing here. This is a wet Blofeld
really
situation.
Have like opposing viewpoints
it's
either.
Like, who are you?
As much as I sort of like have contempt for Rambo 3, where Zeisen was just sort of like just kind of going around being like, who is this Rambo? Like, at least he fucking knew who he was.
Yeah, he knew his name.
He's been having a time. He's been doing like whatever. He's been like doing his gay little war crimes.
Yeah,
and then he's just
thoughts,
like been
fully
disemboweled out of nowhere.
Also, like, what ideological polar opposite does he represent to our protagonist? Like, what is like what
being Burmese?
and get
like...
that's genuinely the only thing. So anyway, Sarah and Michael reunite, and John is like, "Oh, I guess I'm not gonna get pussy after all."
He's like, he has learned to kill, so she's like, she's relieved.
I respect you now.
Yeah.
Geezer's dead. John walks away. And then we get this, which comes out of fucking nowhere. So we cut to the USA, where Rambo has somehow managed to go despite not having a passport.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks up to a mailbox, which is like a ranch in Arizona, and he walks past the mailbox, and we see it has the name Rambo on it. And it's like, oh, he's gone home. And I'm like, what? Is that the completion of a character arc? Was that what this is about? Is you going home? Like, this was mentioned once. Like, what? How have the events of this film enabled you to return to Arizona? Like, what does returning to Arizona mean? Thematically?
It's not really the monomyth, is it? Like, it's sort of like, he refuses the call, he accepts it, question mark, returns home.
There is one thing I want to note, which is he's dressed in his outfit from First Blood, right?
Yes.
His M65 jacket, his like Vietnam outfit. But with one crucial detail, he has taken the big American flag off of his jacket, the one that provoked all of the like bullshit in Rambo 1. And I kind of do too. I don't really think it's saying what they meant it to. I think it is sort of inadvertent. I think it's an inadvertent admission of nihilism, right? That, Rambo, this guy who like was a drifter who, stood for, wanting to survive and wanting to get by. And then, whatever fucked Cold War version of like the oppressed peoples of the earth we want to convey in Rambo 2 and 3. He's now just a guy who likes disemboweling people. And you can go home and you can be a normal American, which is an insane thing to think that this guy can be.
Really bad.
And that's Rambo
Real
4.
Bad.
Rambo
It says
4.
so much about masculinity, namely that you have to kill.
Yeah, it does, which is a really sad and damaging thing to tell young men, or indeed anyone who believes even falsely that they might be a young man. It's a really like nasty message to tell someone that like masculinity is about being able and willing to commit violence, and like it's bad to do that
against like perceived racial inferiors
it's
as
bad
well.
to do that, but also it's like based like it's
It's not based.
This movie made me sad. It really made me sad.
I
could
you
read.
know what? You know what I think about it?
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
If I could read a quote from Sylvester Stallone here.
please.
He says, this was an interview later on after a couple of bits later. He says, one film I'm truly proud of, it's the best action film I've ever done because it's the most truthful, is Rambo 4, dealing with Burma. I was really happy with the film. I never thought it reached the theater. I thought they're never going to show this. He said that it did justice to capturing the reality of civil wars. And to this, I have a few choice words, but I can't say them. But the first one is no. It sort of doesn't.
I mean, it kind of does in the sense that it's just like violent and pointless. It makes you feel bad.
Yeah, but like kind of like even the sort of like quote unquote realism of the violence, it's just like this is a dude getting lost in the sauce. This is an actor who has been playing action heroes too long and has forgotten that he's an actor.
Yeah. So what's the thesis of the movie? The movie wants you to be like, war, there's a lot of war going on in Burma and it's bad. But there are effective anti-war movies that show violence, right? There are like you can make a movie that is anti-war and uses gratuitous violence. You can do that really effectively. It has been done. It's come and see. You don't have to watch it. It's really hard to watch, but like it exists. And if you want this, you can watch it. This movie is more obsessed with spectacle because it just gets so into the action. It gets into the violence. It takes so long showing you it. It gets over obsessed with it. And it's like, it's not come and see, right? It's like, hey, check this out. It's like, hey, fucking like have a gander at this.
I think the thesis of the film is genuinely wars make men of us. And that was literally like the arc words of the villain in my show when I wrote The Prince. Like that is what the villain of the show believes and needs to unlearn. And this movie is just like, yeah, it's true based actually.
I genuinely think that this is best understood as pornography. I think that's the sort of the cultural valence of it. I think that's the intent of it. And yeah, I hate it like profoundly. But you know, I don't just have to hate it profoundly. I can hate it numerically too, because we have a science-based system.
Scum system. Well,
across the board.
Well, I don't know about that. So we have the SCUM system, which stands for SMARM, cultural insensitivity, unprovoked violence, and misogyny. I think it's gonna probably score pretty highly later on, but I think the S for SMARM might save it, because I don't think this is a particularly smarmy movie.
You fool. All the dialogue is so movie. Everything that Rambo's saying about, like, hang on, let me just pull some, I'll go find some quotes.
If you don't stand for something, you'll die for nothing, I think is one of them. When you're pushed, killing's as easy as breathing. It's got a wikiquote.rambo.
I don't think it has as many like movie-ass lines as Rambo 2 and 3.
I remember thinking that it has more, but also I can't back that up because I watched this 3 weeks ago and I don't remember any of them, but I remember having that sense from it.
I would be willing to go like a 3 or a 4 on SMARM, because you're right, it does have some of those like movie-ass lines, but I don't think it is as smarmy as like previous Rambo entries. I think 2 and 3 were really, really smarmy.
To compromise candidate and say 3.
Okay, let me throw this at you. How proud of itself is this movie? Because it, like, all of the decisions that were made in the production of this movie feel to me like someone who is like, we have something to say and we're just doing nothing but saying it. It's a movie that thinks it has a colossal point to make and is making it so often and so self-assuredly and pleasedly that I find the whole valence of the movie to be smarmy.
That's a good, like, so you're viewing SMARM as not just as inherent to dialogue, but in fact to like, yeah, okay, I can see.
We've definitely, mid-bonds, we asked the question, how pleased with itself is this movie?
Yes, I think you're right. You know, this interpretation is grounded in the history and tradition of the people of
I'm a textualist and always have been.
An advanced SMARMologist.
Yeah. In that case, you know, considering how pleased with itself the movie is, I could definitely see scoring it higher, like a 6, maybe.
I think you could certainly describe a lot of the like righteous violence as being filmed in a way that is deeply smarmy. Like when it shows a guy get disemboweled, sort of like at great length, and is like, check this shit out. I think that's very pleased with itself.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I think you talked me around there. I could go as high as a 6 or a 7 for that.
All right, 7. I've sort of like really been a bellwether there. I acceded to both sort of like interpretations of SMARM immediately.
No, I think you've won me around there, Dev. I think that's some good scholarship. That's some good podcasting.
Thank you so much.
We're like serious film critics on this podcast.
We are.
Yeah.
Cultural insensitivity.
10.
Great question.
10. 10.
10. Yeah.
And holy shit.
Just awful.
The sheer devaluation
Especially your point, Devin, about like the untranslated dialogue that's just used as like foreign noise.
Yeah, especially when it's the main villain of your movie.
Yeah.
It's just it's not great to do.
Yeah, his whole deal is foreign.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that separates him meaningfully from Rambo is he's foreign.
I'm just trying to think about what the other Rambos would have been like if you just hadn't translated like any of the Russians, for instance. if they'd just been like if they'd been like electrocuting the shit out of his balls in like Rambo First Blood Part 2, and they'd just been speaking Russian the whole time, that would be, perversely in some ways.
You swap it around, right? You make a movie, release it in a Burmese market, and it's Rambo 1, and Rambo is speaking like a Burmese dialect, whereas the sheriff is just saying gobbledygook, like he has no idea. Like just untranslate these like American cops.
I just bet in my heart that there's a really cool like Burmese poster for First Blood out there. But
so we gave Rambo 2 a 10 out of 10 for cultural insensitivity.
Ooh, okay.
And I think this is actually worse.
I think it is, yeah.
11.
I'm unwilling to break. What is the highest number we've ever given something in a single category?
We've never given anything more than 10 because it's supposed to be out of 7, and 10 is supposed to be like extreme situations only.
I think we shouldn't leave it as a decimal cap.
Yeah, all right, 10 it is. Like, couldn't possibly score any higher. Unprovoked.
You want to know this movie's fucking problem is that it shoots all violence the same. It has one fucking playbook.
Yeah.
The violence you're supposed to find unattractive and like disgusting is shot exactly the same as the violence that you're supposed to think is cool. That's where it fucking falls down.
They even use the same mortars.
Yeah.
I forgot about this, but there's this bit where the Karens use the same mortars to attack the army, and it's like the same dudes getting their legs blown off, and you're like, this time it's good.
You're like, yay!
Yeah, because it's being done against people who aren't white. Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah, number one, people getting their legs blown off, and it's like, oh no. And the second time, people are getting their legs blown off, and it's like, childyay.wav. It's like,
It's racist both coming and going, in that it's both times it's being
I have
applied
that, hold
largely
on.
to people who aren't white, but like.
all right, turn that down and put it in when I said it was.
Big cheer for
Thanks.
racism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So misogyny then 10.
Well,
Gotta
now.
be.
10. Well, to be fair,
So,
okay, let's think about this
analyze
objectively.
So,
The non-white women that are just abandoned in the camp on the way out.
yeah, that's definitely
Yep.
count. That definitely
Sexual
counts.
threat is used.
Textual
threatening.
explicit sexual assault for non-white women, sexual menace for white women, but that is portrayed more seriously and more threateningly.
No non-white woman has a speaking role.
Yeah, the
Nope.
way that the role of the female character is to be nurturing and loving, and I think you care, and I think I think so much could have been improved had just one of the mercenaries been a woman. If we just had like one tough girl, one like Ramirez, like one shaved head, like muscular girl, and like would have been
You keep the geezer exactly the same, but gender swap her.
yeah, just any other role for woman other than either like victim of sexual assault or like I'm here to be nurturing and kind and teach you how to love again. It's
Female geezer
As an
is
actress,
played by
it's-
Helen Mirren.
just as an actress, it's boring more than anything.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing to do.
It's boring and it's offensive. Are there any other women even in this?
No,
No.
it doesn't pass the
Doing a
Bechdel
sort of
test. I'll tell you that.
radical theatrical deconstruction where we adapt Rambo for the stage with an all-female cast.
I would fucking love to see that. That would actually genuinely be sick.
I think we should do that, actually. Copyright.
I mean, listen. If you ever want me to be on my extremely annoying, sort of playwright shit, I'll knock that out for you.
Check
but,
out Abigail Thorne's Twitter for the thread of her trying to acquire the rights to Rambo.
Yeah, it's like I called 60 people trying to get the thing for
We
Rambo.
will get Rambo, and we will adapt it for the stage.
Yeah. I would Rambo the musical, that'd be great.
Rambo the hip opera. Yeah.
Oh god.
Rambo, a post-electric play, anyway.
So yeah, misogyny. I'm holding out for a 10.
I don't think it's the most misogynistic film we've ever seen.
What do you think is?
What's our highest rated
Probably Goldfinger.
misogynistic movie? We definitely should have
Goldfinger does have a corrective rape. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
true. Oh, that is true.
We gave that a 9, I think, on misogyny.
I honestly think it might be worse than Goldfinger in some ways, but I think we can give it equal billing, and I think we can give it a 9.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
This could get
yeah,
more
I think-
misogynistic.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we want to give like a
It
7,
should
8?
and must also. Rambo 5 10s across the board. I want it.
Well, the reason I think 9 is that I think there's a peculiar interaction of sort of like of misogyny and cultural insensitivity, of misogyny and racism, to be clear.
Yes, yeah.
That isn't present in Goldfinger, and that I think we would be remiss not to include.
Yeah, I'm happy to give it a 9 if you are.
Yeah, by all means.
All right, that gives it a total score of 36,
I was holding out for that 40.
which means that Rambo 4 is the worst movie we have ever seen on the podcast. Blowing
that.
out of the water our previous winners, which were tied Atomic Blonde, Live and Let Die, and Austin Powers 3. A really interesting trifecta there. They were all sitting joint on 28, but Rambo 4, the new worst film we've ever seen, on 36. A truly execrable crime against cinema.
It's entirely merited, is the
Yeah,
thing.
it
It
is.
is like a
it's
profoundly
evidenced.
fascist movie.
Yeah, I spiritually, I agree. Like this is the worst film we've seen on the podcast.
No, it's
Like,
awful.
I had a
It's
horrible time
hands
watching
down
it.
the worst. This is a movie so bad that when I watched it, I felt it necessary to provide like content warnings in the group chat.
Yeah.
Which we didn't provide for any of you. You don't get those, just us.
Oh, I am going to put them in the description. Don't fucking worry about that.
Yeah, it made me feel awful watching this film, and I'm sad that I wasted my time on it.
You know what I want to put in the description for this? I want to put in some donation links for like Korean refugee and healthcare stuff. I want to do that.
It'll be in there with the SAG-AFTRA stuff and UCU as well. Actually, really needs a bit more money.
Nice.
Fuck it, that'll be in there too.
This is the worst I've ever felt having watched a film on this podcast. Like, I don't know, even when the film is bad or offensive, normally it's like, oh, fuck off. But this one, I'm genuinely like, oh, this left me actually feeling bad.
It's because he reckons he's doing a great job of it. That's the bit that like really makes it so grating.
Mm-hmm. So it leaves a really
Disgusting.
bad taste in my mouth too. But only remains for me to say thank you for listening. We have a Patreon. After you've hit all of those donation links, you can subscribe to it. We are going to do another bonus episode. The next one's going to be Serpico, to be sort of much of a muchness with Copland. We're going to do one more Rambo, one more bonus episode, and then we enter the season of Solidarity.
That's right.
So look out for that. In the meantime, goodbye.
See ya.
Do I have the right direction?
I was in Burma.
There we go. Alright, stop the thing.
hope someone does kill him.
Thank you for listening to yet another episode of Kill James Bond. I'm quite genuinely drunk. We recorded a double bill. We did Rambo 4 and then the next bonus episode, which is Serpico, and we did those as a double bill from 7 until 11 p.m. on a Sunday evening. So, obviously I've been drinking. But now this is a free episode, which means that if you're hearing this, you may not necessarily be a Patreon of our beloved Kill James Bond. But if you would like to become one, first things first, if you have any spare money, please throw it the way of SAG-AFTRA, WGA, the DSA fund that I've got in the comments as well, and the UCU. The UCU is unrelated, but they are currently on strike still, and their strike funds could do with a little bit of extra money for reasons that it's not pertinent for me to get into right now, but are quite pressing about marking. But after all that, if you've still got a $5 burning a hole in your pocket, why don't you head on over to patreon.com/killjamesbond, all one word, and sign up for our Patreon. Special thanks to our £15 and above patrons, and those are Lo Bjornsdottir, Candy Fox, Freya Aloysius, Gustavo Lira, Jack Holmes, Mike Berg, Hannah Oberhart, Nick Boris, Power Dad, full caps, very good, George Rohat, Kentucky Fried Commie, Johnny Del Camino, Yarek, Drone Lover, Natamori, Cohen, Enright, Labor Delenda Est, Library Hitman, Ozzy Mandius, Beef Crime, Max Gaimanhart, Jack Drummond, Jonathan Gerdes, Callum, Bernie, Kit Divine, Hell, J. Martin Del Topo, Mothman, Trip, Isomate, Thotimus Prime, a trans robot, Maeve Victoria Roth, Junior Roloff, Smash Lumpjaw, Kill James Bond Highlights, how you doing, bud? Zan Hutchins, Steve Widdershins, Trucker Blondie, David Alexander, Joyous Uwu, Isopod Gal, Clarification, Alex, Violet Cyber, Liz Nash in Florida, Katie Brobes, Noblest Obelhage, Corvid Cultist, John 2089, Bronan, Wolscott, Connor's Cool Big Sister, Pink Freud, Ramona Random, Sengchen, Carbon Silverpaw, Annie Ruby, Varatsukat, Zoe Shepard, Douglas Winship, Emily, Queen of Oths. Fuck, there's a lot of you. Quinn, Valeri, Loz Pycock, Alfredo, Mortran, Turfseat, Shit and Die Alone, Al Irwing, Wolfie, Finn Ross, Inga the Goblin, Millie, Josh Simmons, Robert Greensmith, the even more curious Kaylee V, Lauren Bastin, and Philippa Smith. Yeah, well, that's the fucking podcast. Alice, Abby Devon, Nate, Maddie Lubchansky, Tom Allen. Mwah.